Hey, gang. Today is another John talk. It's just me talking. And here's the problem I want to talk with you about technology and the rise of technology, and how the rise of technology has also led to the rise of mental health issues, the rise of stress, the rise of burnout. These little devices that we have are amazing, amazing, right? But at the same time, they can be incredibly, incredibly destructive with the technology that's behind it. Okay. I've experienced the rise of PCs to the internet, to cell phones, to social media, to e-commerce, all these. And you know what? It's been wonderful stuff. But at the same time, understanding what all that means and why it can be so detrimental and destructive can really help you live a better life. And so I'm going to take you through a journey, and I promise you that a lot of things I say, you're going to go, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay. And the idea is to give you this information so you can do something about it. Because, like I've always said, everything in your life is your choice. Okay. So now that you're going to have this information, you can choose how you're going to move forward instead of living your life blindly, not knowing what's going on around you. Okay. Please share this because folks around you need to hear this. And by the way, also please subscribe because it really helps me and it gets our word out. Okay? Thanks again. Here we go. All right. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. We're going to talk about AI today. We're going to talk about technology, and this involves everybody, every one of us. Okay. As you know, I'm kind of evolving my Finding Better podcast into something where we talk about artificial intelligence at least a little bit in every single episode because it is now happening. It is all around us. It's the most, perhaps the biggest transformation that we're ever going to see in our lives. Certainly the biggest one we've ever seen, maybe the biggest one we ever see. And so I want to talk with you about technology and what all this stuff means. Specifically, I want to talk about mental burnout. Mental burnout from having constant technology around us, right? The thing is, the irony of it is that we're more connected than ever before, but we're also more exhausted than we've ever been, right? And so I want to talk with you a little bit about what's going on, and you're going to be able to relate to a lot of the things we're going to discuss today. And by the way, this is just me talking to you, okay? Because I wanted to talk with you, and I just wanted to give you my perspective. My perspective comes from 40 years, over 40 years of being in the technology space. I started in 1984 with IBM, and I've been in high tech ever since. And I helped usher in, and I saw the progression. Right when I first started, we had mainframe computers. Then came the personal computers, the PCs. Then came the internet. Then came the iPhone. I'm going to talk about that a lot. Then came social media. Then came e-commerce, and through it all, technology was supposed to make life easier, right? It was supposed to offer faster communication and instant information and automation, right? All these things. Remember? Supposed to be convenient. It was supposed to make us more productive. We were promised more freedom. I knew, I was part of the gang that was promising that freedom with the technology. And the technology was amazing. Every generation was more and more amazing, made us more and more productive, right? But somehow over the years, people started to feel more overwhelmed. They started to feel more anxious and more mentally exhausted, right? More emotionally disconnected. Even though we had all this connectivity around us, we weren't feeling connected. And this was happening more than ever before. We are living, you and me, in the most technologically advanced time in human history. This has never happened before. Yet millions and millions of people, maybe you wake up after sleeping already tired, right? And the question is why? And there's been lots and lots of studies on this stuff. You think about it. Why are we burning out in a world with technology that was designed to make us more productive and save us time, right? Today, I want to talk about something that almost everybody needs, but very few people understand. I want to talk about mental burnout. I want to talk about why that's happening to a lot of us because it's not just about phones, all right? It's about one, overstimulation, two, information overload. Have you felt that before? Three, nonstop notifications and nonstop people reaching out to you, wanting your attention. Number four, social media and social pressures. In a lot of cases, we're kind of addicted to technology. The big technology companies understand how that works and they want us to be. AI anxiety is all around us. And the fact is, our brains were never designed to process this much input. They weren't, let alone every single day. But here's the scary part. The scary part is that if we're not careful, it's going to get worse and it's going to get worse fast. And I want to talk with you about that. But before we get into that stuff, a little bit more background in terms of your and my brain, the human brain, in this new world of digital connectivity. Okay. Our brains evolved over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, but modern technology has been created in the last 50. Okay. So here's the thing, our minds can't keep up. They just can't. They're not designed that way. Think about the average day right now. Before you get out of bed, if you're like me, sometimes I'll reach for my phone on my nightstand and I'll look at it before I get out of bed. Okay. I'm checking my messages. I'm checking my emails. I'm checking the news. I'm checking social media. I'm checking my work, right? My work stuff. I'm looking at whatever notifications I have. I'm looking at the financial news. I'm looking at what's happening in the world. I may look at YouTube videos just to entertain myself a little bit. I'm working with AI. This is before you wake up and before you get out of bed in the morning. Of course, you've woken up, but before you get out of bed, let alone the endless scrolling, right? And so your brain immediately turns into stimulation mode. Immediately. So here's an interesting thing for you. According to research, and according to a gentleman who I interviewed in my last episode 214, Anthony Sillard. Okay, the average person touches their smartphone 2,700 times a day. 2,700 times a day. Touches. Deet, 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 right? Scroll is a touch. Every single day. Far more than previous generations ever processed in terms of information, right? Now combine that with remote work. COVID was a terrible, terrible thing, but it created this phenomena called remote work where you could work from home. Think about the online availability that is constantly there and available to you. Think about social media comparison. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Okay? Think about algorithm-driven attention systems. It's all about your attention. And your brain never truly rests. When's the last time you were bored? Think about that. A report from the World Health Organization officially classified burnout as an occupational phenomena connected to workplace stress. Burnout, workplace stress. But today, burnout is no longer limited to workplace stress. It's digital life stress. We're constantly on, right? And psychologically, that matters. It matters because human beings, you and I need time, time to recover. But technology has removed many of the natural points, stopping points in life. We we don't take breaks at work, a lot of us, right? The water cooler conversations, those never happen anymore. The only time we are not sitting at our desk is when we're running to a meeting. That's how a lot of people work, right? So let's talk about your attention for a minute, okay? Here's something that most people don't realize. I didn't. Modern technology is not just competing for your time. It is competing for your attention. Let me tell you something real quick. I once worked for a guy named Scott McNeely. He was a founder and one of the founders and the CEO of a company called Sun Microsystems. Great company. Sold it to Oracle. But anyway, I saw Scott on Bloomberg on TV in an interview one day, and he was talking about social media. He was talking about Facebook and he was talking about Google. And he said, all these products are out there and they're free. Isn't it amazing? And the interviewer says, oh my gosh, it's just crazy what's available out there. And Scott said something I will never forget. He goes, here's what you need to understand. If the product you're using is free, you are the product. Okay? Let me repeat that. If the product that you're using is free, you are the product. Let that sink in for a little bit, right? So your attention on Google, on Facebook, on Instagram, your attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the world. How's that for a perspective? Social media platforms, apps, streaming devices, news companies, even AI tools, more and more, are designed to keep you engaged as much as possible. They're designed to want you to keep scrolling and to stay on. Why? Because your attention generates money. It's all about greed, right? The longer you stay online, the more ads you see, right? The more data gets collected about you, the more profit these platforms make. It's all about you. That's why many apps, a lot of these systems out there are intentionally engineered using psychological triggers. I'm not going to get too deep into that. But anyway, triggers that cause you to scroll endlessly, notifications, dopamine feedback loops. If you don't know what dopamine is, go look it up. It's crazy. Personalized algorithms that are in these systems designed specifically for you. So that as you are using these systems, it is analyzing what you're doing and it is feeding you back information, the videos that you want to see. Always you see the videos and you go, oh my God, that was so interesting. Gee, I wonder how it knew to put that in front of me, let alone products and services and all those kinds of things. And former tech insiders and researchers have openly discussed how many digital systems are built to maximize engagement, to maximize your attention, even if it increases stress or compulsive behavior. I might argue that if it increases compulsive behavior to their advantage, they're going to do it. Okay. Now think about what this does to your nervous system, to the human nervous system. Your brain experiences hardly any more silence, any more quiet time anymore, right? Even moments of boredom are disappearing. You know, my grandkids, my grandkids, we specifically set up downtime during the day just for them to do nothing but hang out. No screens, no screens. Just hang out and figure out what you want to do. In the old days, us kids would hang around and I'd look at my friend. I go, what do you want to do? He'd go, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And Boredom is important. It's important because boredom creates creativity. You got to figure out what you're going to do. Reflection, sometimes thinking about what's going on in the world, what happened, what you did, also triggers your imagination, right? When you think about this, emotional processing, thinking about things emotionally and mentally. That's what boredom, the time being bored can be really, really good. We don't have time to be bored anymore. You have to make the time. You have to specifically give yourself that gift of time. Okay. And nowadays, the result of it is that not many people can sit quietly, even for 5 minutes, without reaching for a device. Think about it. Try here. Let me let me give you a challenge. As soon as this is done, in fact, you can pause this right now. Pause it and try to sit quietly with an empty mind for 10 seconds. Then try 30 seconds. It's really, really hard because our minds are trained, our minds are conditioned to be, what's next? What's next? What do I think of next? Right? That's not normal human behavior. That's conditioning. And so we have to recondition our minds. We have to give ourselves that silent space. And it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the stronger that muscle gets. The muscle of silence. And it's wonderful. It's really, really, really hard. Like I said, try 10 seconds. Try to just sit there for 10 seconds with your eyes closed, not thinking about anything, with a clear mind. Within 3 seconds, something's going to try to barge into your head. And then you're going to quiet it again. And then 3 seconds later, pop, 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 knock, 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 pound, pound, pound. Okay. All right. Enough of that. So let's talk about social media and the comparison trap. This is something that causes the right since the invention of social media, mental illness has just skyrocketed, right? You've heard about that. One of the biggest causes of mental exhaustion is comparison, comparing yourself to others, comparing yourself to the Joneses. And social media has created a world where people are constantly comparing themselves to other people. Again, my friend Anthony Szilard, he said that the number one emotion that is triggered by social media is envy, is envy. Again, episode 214, the last episode. Go check it out on my Finding Better podcast. But social media causes people to compare success, to compare their appearances, to compare their wealth, to compare how cool they are, to compare their relationships and their lifestyles. Look how cool I am. If you don't look like me, you're a loser. And yet we all know that most of the stuff is absolute and utter bullshit, right? And yet the comparison never stops. The envy never stops. You open your phone and you're instantly going to see someone's making $1 million, right? Someone's traveling, someone's getting fit, someone's buying a house, someone's becoming famous. And it's just bullshit. And you know that. Even when you know logically and realistically that social media is curated for the most part, emotionally, your brain still reacts. Garbage in, garbage out. That's what we used to call it in the world of computers. When you put garbage into this mainframe computer, the supercomputer you've got between your ears, you put garbage in, it's going to spit garbage out. And it's going to say, yeah, okay, I'll analyze that for you. You got to protect your mind. Okay. And yeah, yeah. And just understand, because sometimes understanding stuff can help you move forward. Envy is the number one emotion evoked by social media. Envy. My and I'll tell you a story about my daughter because I have her permission to. So throughout high school, she was on Facebook. And when she graduated from high school, and this was, I don't know, 15 years ago, she went to Santa Clara University. Now, Santa Clara University is kind of in the middle of Silicon Valley. So one day in this big auditorium, a Facebook executive came on campus to talk to all of the business students. My daughter always sits in the front row. So during his talk, he says, how many of you people have Facebook accounts? 299 out of the 300 people raised their hands. The only one in the room who didn't was my daughter. And the Facebook guy says, so do you not have a Facebook account or are you just not participating? She said, I don't have a Facebook account. And when she said that, it was like all the oxygen got sucked out of that room, right? And he says, are you kidding me? She says, nope. Came to college and I turned it off. He says, why? She says, because of the noise. And the guy says, what happened? And she said, ever since I turned off my Facebook account, I got 8 hours a day of my life back. 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day, she was comparing herself. She was looking at what other people were saying about her. She was trying to keep up with the gossip. 8 hours a day. And she said, and my life has been great ever since I turned you off. I was pretty proud of her. Okay. Because studies have linked excessive social media to increased anxiety, depression, sleep disruption, low self-esteem. Makes sense, right? Especially among younger generations, among younger people. And now AI is adding yet another layer. People are beginning to feel pressure not only to compete, but to compete with machines, not just with humans, but with machines. And a lot of people out there are fearing that they're going to lose their jobs, that they're going to become irrelevant, that they're going to fall behind technologically. They're not going to adapt fast enough. These are real fears that people have with the rise of AI. And so this creates what psychologists are calling AI anxiety, right? It's kind of the constant fear that the future is moving forward faster than humans can keep up, and certainly faster than they can process emotionally. And honestly, fear is totally understandable. I mean, you think about it, you may be going through it right now because change today is happening at a speed that humanity has never experienced before, right? So we live in this culture of productivity. Why is this culture making things worse? There's another reason burnout is exploding and it's happening all over. It's because our modern culture glorifies nonstop productivity. Everywhere online, we hear to work harder, to optimize everything, to work more, to scale faster, to post your stuff all the time, right? To constantly build. Rest almost feels wrong. And technology has amplified this pressure by a lot. And now work follows you, follows people everywhere. The emails follow you at night, Slack notifications, Zoom fatigue, constant notifications and updates, right? Online expectations, 24 by 7 accessibility. All these things are really, really tough. And remote work gave flexibility for many people, but it also erased boundaries, right? Your home became your office. Phones became your workplaces. Rest became interrupted. And according to a lot of workplace studies, employees increasingly report digital fatigue. digital fatigue, and difficulty disconnecting from work after hours, difficulty disconnecting from their technology, which is their work. And here's the deeper problem. Human beings are not machines. We're biological, right? We need sleep. We need recovery. We need silence. We need emotional connection. We need nature, right? We need physical movement. But technology often keeps us mentally stimulated, even when our bodies are exhausted, and keeps us from doing all those things that I just mentioned. That's not good. That creates chronic stress. And chronic stress eventually becomes burnout. Okay. So, through all this, let's talk about humanity. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about human connection. Because in the final analysis, you know, years ago, I used to give a lot of speeches, a lot of presentations. And I don't know, maybe it was 12 years ago or so. In all my presentations, I talked about the rise of what at the time was called machine learning. And I told everybody that there's going to come a point in time when technology is going to force a renaissance of heart. It's going to force us to get back to our own humanity. Because as intelligence is being taken over, all we have left is our humanity and heart, right? So the irony of this is that we are more and more digitally connected than ever before. Yet loneliness is rising globally. Now, why is that? Because interaction through digital medium is not always emotional connection. A lot of times it's not. 1,000 followers doesn't mean friendship. A thousand messages doesn't mean emotional support, right? And endless online interactions can sometimes create shallow connections instead of the meaningful presence and the deep connections that we really truly want. And so now a lot of people spend hours communicating through screens while feeling emotionally isolated. You probably know people like that. I do, right? They're connected through their screens, but they don't leave their house. And so they're isolated. They're isolated from real life. And humans were never designed to live entirely through devices. We need eye contact, right? We need conversation. We need to shake hands with that physical presence. You can learn a lot. You can about a person's handshake. Maybe some of you guys didn't know about that. We need shared experiences. We need community. And this is why podcasts like Finding Better, long form conversations, community events, and authentic storytelling are beginning to grow again. This podcast, my Finding Better podcast, I did this because my daughter asked me to do it. She told me, she says, Dad, you've taught us and our friends so many amazing things. The world needs to hear from you. And I said, listen, I am not going to do a podcast. Who's going to want to hear anything about what I have to say? And she says, Dad, you've always said that if you lift one person, you lift the world. I said, yeah. She says, do your podcast and let somebody reach you, let somebody find you, and give it to the universe. And here's the other thing she said. She said, there's so much crap out there that people are listening to and watching. You have the opportunity, Dad, to create a safe space with real information that people can come to and learn from. She said, you don't want anything from anybody, right? I said, no. You're not trying to sell them anything. I said, no. She says, you just want to help and make the world better. So here I am. And people are craving real things. People are craving real information, not more stimulation, not more algorithms. They're looking for real connection. And that's the opportunity that we have today. Because beneath all the technology, human beings still want to feel. They want to feel like they're seen, like they're heard, like they're understood. They want to be with other people. Anthony was telling me the other day that, when you think of shoplifting and you think of crime, sometimes the last people you think of are old Japanese people in Japan. And he said, but the interesting thing is that more and more old Japanese people in their 70s and 80s are being thrown in jail for shoplifting. Is that because they're running out of money and they have to steal food? No. He said they're shoplifting because they want to be put in jail because that's where people are and they can be with a community of people. Isn't that sad? Right? It's the epidemic of loneliness that we're dealing with. And that's kind of what's happening these days. So here's the thing. I'm going to close with how to protect yourself, how to protect your mind, how to protect your spirit in this digital world. The question is, what do we do? Do we abandon technology completely? Of course not, right? Technology is not the enemy. The problem is the unconscious use of technology, us using it without knowing what we're doing. And we need balance. We need balance. The human mind and the human body needs balance. And maybe the future of mental health will not depend on escaping technology, but perhaps on learning how to use it wisely with balance in your life. That might mean setting boundaries with the devices. When my kids were growing up, and this was certainly not with the kinds of I mean, this was back in, I don't know, 1998. Okay. So think about what you had as technology back then. We limited both of their screen time to 2 hours a day for until they moved out of the house. So set boundaries, set boundaries. At the dinner table, phones down, set boundaries. 2,700 touches, try to get them down to 1,000. Stuff like that, right? Turn off unnecessary notifications. Take breaks from your social media. Okay. Now that you know that you are the product, and now that you know that envy is the number one emotion that comes from social media, maybe that'll piss you off a little bit. Okay. Protect your quiet time, create your quiet time, and then protect it. Spend more time offline. Spend your time doing nothing and reconnect with nature. Go for a hike, go for a walk, look at the sky. When's the last time you looked at the sky? Right? Prioritize your sleep. That's a big, big deal. I'll tell you, ever since I decided, and you may go, I can't do that. I am in bed at 10 o'clock every night, and I am up at 5:15 every morning, and I feel great. I used to be a night person. Now I'm a morning person, big time. And I protect that. And it makes a huge difference. Have more conversations with people, real conversations, deep conversations. Okay? Learn to be open minded. In the world that we live in today, my goodness, there's a lot of closed minded people out there, aren't there? Be curious. Start building that muscle and be curious about the other person's perspective. Don't just write people off because they happen to be a certain way or have certain political beliefs. It's crazy. Okay. But technology has kind of driven that when you think about it, right? So know this, protecting your attention, and it's your attention everybody wants, not your time. It's your attention. That should piss you off too. It's your attention that everybody wants. But protecting your attention is now kind of a form of self-care, right? And protecting your mental energy has become one of the most important survival skills in this world that we're living in today. Because the truth is, not everything deserves your attention. Not every notification deserves your reaction, right? And not every technological advancement deserves complete control over your life. And yet that's what a lot of people have done, given complete control without knowing it. Now, here's the good news. There's actually hope in technology moving forward because AI is changing the game. And I'm in the middle of it. Okay. With AI, you can actually set up friends or agents to help you, right? To do some of your work, to take some of that work and help help you be more productive and save time. I know you're saying the same thing, Suzuki, but check it out. Check it out. AI is a major game changer, probably the biggest game changer um, we've ever seen and perhaps ever will see, but it can be a really good game changer. Not just everything can be good or bad. My message to you is it's your choice as to whether you make it good or bad or not. If you don't do anything and you let it control your life, that's not good. But if you take some of the things that I've been telling you and do something with it, choose to not let it steal your attention. Choose to give yourself quiet time, right? You can make it a good thing. So just remember that there's goodness in everything, including AI, which can actually be great. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Technology has given humanity incredible power, right? But power without balance creates exhaustion. And that's what we're living through today. And maybe the real challenge of our generation is not about being more intelligent, but perhaps the real challenge is protecting our human minds and maybe bringing more heart and love into the world, right? A renaissance of heart. Because no matter how advanced technology becomes, peace, clarity, presence, and human connection will always matter. It's always going to matter. So tonight, before you scroll endlessly, before you check one more notification, before you consume more information, ask yourself this question. You ready? When was the last time your mind truly rested? Now, if this episode connected with you, share it. Someone out there is feeling this. And you know what? Sometimes there's real comfort in knowing that you're not the only one suffering out there, right? So share this because this is a really important thing for all of us to understand. And, you know, we're all overwhelmed by this digital world that we're living in. All of us are. But remember, you don't need to be constantly connected. You don't. You don't. In order to be valuable, it's not about being constantly connected. I would submit to you that instead of being constantly connected, rest, unplug, and be bored for some time. Go on vacation, right? Vacations are great. Lets you reset. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. But we can't be on vacation all the time, but you can be bored, rested, and you can unplug every single day. Give yourself that gift. And here's the thing. Stay tuned for all of our episodes on Finding Better podcast because we're going to talk about this stuff. It's all about finding better. It's all about sharing experiences of people who have been there and done that and finding better in their own lives and sharing that with you. Okay. And it's really important, especially in the age we're living in right now. So, with that, please subscribe. It helps me a lot. And I love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye.